Konnichiwa. Man, we're here. At least I think we're here. We'll see how Japan reacts. But we are at the breaking point for the yen versus the USD. We are over 162, a big spike about an hour ago, all the way up to 162.4. Currently trading at 162.17. Not good. Not good at all for the Bank of Japan. They are going to have to intervene here if they do not want their currency to continue to melt down against the dollar. We've had a couple statements made by those at the Bank of Japan here in the last hour. Apparently, they are going to coordinate some type of announcement with the U.S. government. So we will see what that means, but they have to act here. And my spidey senses tell me that they are going to have to raise interest rates, and they know what that's going to do to the market when they do that. The Nikkei and Korean stock market have hit highs here recently as their currency continues to weaken against the dollar. We held interest rates at the last FOMC. The next monetary meeting for both countries is much later in July. We are on the precipice of things breaking here. And we also have Saylor looking to sell his Bitcoin. What a time to be alive. You also have Tether this week being delisted over there in the EU. I don't think you could get more climatic timing than what we have right now prior to July 4th here in the US. So, and then, we've had a lot of people reach out and say, well, what happened to July 28th or June 28th? It came and went. I don't know if you guys were watching for 24/7 trading of stocks last night. I was at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and no stocks were trading. Market was still closed. Market closed again today at the normal time. So I don't see stocks trading. The DTCC did say they came out and they are moving to 24/5 settlement today. I don't see stocks trading that way. So not sure. Are they settling futures real time or 24/7? Is it only certain exchanges that are trading? Because the S&P stopped, the NASDAQ stopped, everything stopped at normal trading hours. So I don't know. Also haven't seen any announcements from Swift. I thought they were supposed to come out and go move to real-time gross settlement as well. Haven't seen them announce that today either. So like I mentioned last week, I don't control the DTCC or the exchanges or Swift. So if they need to kick the can a little bit so that there's some price appreciation here, there's enough liquidity for them to start settling things, then they're going to do that. Also, the BIS have not seen an announcement from them for Q2 like they talked about early on or late in Q1. I think it was March when they came out with that comment that they would be providing guidance around designations for Bitcoin, ETH, Solana, and XRP here in Q2. Haven't seen it yet. We got one more day here in Q2. Could that linger into Q3 a little bit? It's possible. We've also got Ripple's Escrow being released on Wednesday this week. So if you were going to have a supply shock or a squeeze, you'd probably want to do that before they could sell onto the market. I don't know if that's going to happen. Again, speculating, like I told you guys last week. I'm just telling y'all what's going on in the market, giving you my best guess with things. You should form your own opinions, watch other people. And this is probably a good time for my disclaimer. Nothing here is financial advice. It's for entertainment and educational purposes. You should always speak with a financial advisor, tax professional, or attorney before making any legal, financial, or tax decisions. Anything I state are my opinions, and they are not the opinions of Digital Ascension Group or any of its subsidiaries. So take all I say with a grain of salt. I am probably overly optimistic. Actually made some posts about that over there on Twitter. Oh, my wife with the wonderful. Oh, check it out. It's Minnie Mouse.
Also, we have
ginseng.
2 super chats on the desk and 1 in the email.
Ah, okay. That's all right. Thank you. Thank you. All right. So we got a couple super chats that we'll get to before we get into everything tonight. This was a gift from a client. I appreciate y'all. You know who you are. So back to the things at hand here. We've got a lot culminating here at the end of June into early July. We have July 4th, Friday. It's bank holiday this week. So short trading week. Not sure how that's going to work with 24/5 trading. Do they still honor holidays on that? I don't know. We will find out at the end of this week if things are actually trading 24/5 or not. As I've mentioned many times, they have to drive liquidity into XRP before we're going to see the use of it. I know there's a lot of people out there that have said, the utility will drive the value of the asset. That's true to some extent. We've seen that on other networks. If you want to quantify volume as utility, you had Brad Garlinghouse talk about, how he doesn't really like what Michael Saylor has been doing. Financial engineering is not actual utility. It does not help the space. So I'm hoping that they drive some of that utility stuff he's talking about. I think that they will. But on that, they're going to need a significantly higher price. There's got to be enough liquidity in XRP for it to start settling both SWIFT and the DTCC on the back end. And until that's there, I don't think we're going to see 24/5 trading of stocks. We will see that before the end of the year, though. We've got the rollout here in July for a portion of that. And then you also have October this year with full adoption. Pretty sure we're going to be in a good spot before October. So that's where things sit with the macro back and forth over there in the Middle East. I'm waiting on oil. I think oil is going to be the straw that breaks the camel's back here. There's a huge discrepancy between the amount of oil that looks like it's available on the market or how it's priced and the actual amount that's out there. All it would take with the U.S. would be that the U.S. says we're low on our strategic reserves and we're no longer going to be supplying it to the rest of the world while the Strait of Hormuz is shut down. And that's the linchpin. You would see oil skyrocket at that point back over $100 pretty quickly, I think. And that would cause significant inflation there in Japan. A lot of people, not understanding the jawboning that's going back and forth between President Trump and the Iranian officials saying that there is no meeting this week. I think that he's aware of how that's going to impact Japan and probably trying to tamper the oil markets with his statements to be able to kind of compress that a little bit so it's not as a big a deal for them. But I think when they're ready to roll this deal, they're going to make it happen. So when is the BIS giving their statement? They came out with a paper on the 28th on Saturday. If you guys want to go read that. The DTCC's paper today also, or their announcement, their press release was also very telling that they will be trading stocks 24/5. But again, that's not happening right now. I think they turned on the capability for it, but it's not actually facilitating trades. I'm just having a hard time understanding because I thought it was going to be actual 24/5 trading of stocks, but it's closed. So maybe they're waiting on liquidity. Like I said. All right. I've got a couple of super chats here that I'm going to get into. And then we will jump into the super chats from tonight. So these are tiny, but I'm going to read them. NJF5212 says, hey there, Jake. How are you, sir? Thank you for all that you do. Carbon One. Glad to see that you're in your mastermind. He says from October of last year, appreciate you hanging out. Hopefully you're getting a lot of value and some education. He says, waiting for price appreciation, but really important question. Would you or Max get back into bodybuilding or powerlifting competition for fun? I am 41 and looking to compete to beat my 500-pound deadlift. Oh, would I get back into bodybuilding? But not at the level that I used to. At my largest, I was 260, about 8% body fat after my last competition. It was very large. 5'11" and a half. They always hype me up like 5'11" in the NPC. I don't like it. I don't like the aesthetic. It's too much. And for my frame, I would have to compete in bodybuilding to do well. My waist isn't huge. It's like 31, but yeah, maybe physique. I'll do masters. I'll probably do at least one show after I turn 35 this year at some point in the not too distant future, just to challenge myself and get back in shape. But not, I could do nationals here in Dallas if I wanted to. Just the stress and strain that you put on your body with all the pharmacology and the dieting and everything else, at a point it does become unhealthy. And then oftentimes people wreck their kidneys with diuretics trying to get, super tight for a show. So I'd probably take a holistic approach and just know that I wasn't going to place as well as the guys that are doing crazy stuff. But yeah, I mean, it's good. It's good to have a goal. So I'll probably do another one in masters. Already did that. And Max isn't getting back into powerlifting. I can tell you that. He has the hernia from deadlifting 750 pounds. So he's not doing that anymore. Christ Conscious, very cool name. Thank you for the super chat from Canada. She says, in Canada, was with JP Morgan, Amex, etc. I have great ideas / sales. One for DWP. Could DWP pay off a mortgage in care of me? Write a check against my Anchorage account directly to mortgage company. I would pay 5% value or $40K for services to DWP. We're working on lines of credit. Milo is who we're working with currently on the mortgages. So we can cross collateralize the property and the crypto in order to be able to get you a mortgage, get you a HELOC, do whatever you're looking to do. 5% is a bit below market value for that type of product. If you go look at Figure, you can actually put your stable coin over there from Figure into their liquidity pool. They have two of them. One is for HELOCs and mortgages, and I think that's paying 8.3%. And then they also have auto loans that are paying 9% on both those liquidity pools. Mike Cagney does a fantastic job. That's a highly regulated company. It's a public company. So like what they're doing. But at this time, I don't think you're going to be able to get 5% against really anything. Now, if we do see the U.S. lower interest rates, which if we see Japan raise interest rates, we're ready to lower. We're good to go. Warsh can lower them. I think a lot of people will refinance their mortgages that they bought at these higher interest rates. And I do think that the rate at which you could borrow against your crypto will come way, way down. Especially if, I think XRP will become tier 1 collateral. And therefore, you'd be able to lend against that similar to treasuries. You'd be able to get preferred rates on it. And that's one of the benefits of working with DAG and financial advisory over there. Because we will have such a large amount, we should be able to negotiate better rates than anybody else for our clients. We've already done that in some areas. So, yeah, I think we could probably figure that out, but it's going to be a little bit just where interest rates are in the current market position. Oh, we already did that one. Okay, and then I got one more in the email. My wife's yelling at me from the other room. Let me know. Here we go. Oh, I did that one already. Okay, cool. All right. Well, thank you guys so much for the super chats. Again, if I missed your super chat tonight, you can email it in info@digitalfamilyoffice.io, and we will pick those up. They will get them over to me or my wife. All right, let's jump into the super chats tonight. Again, appreciate you guys taking time out of your Monday to come hang out with me and listen to the macro and all the fun things that are about to take place. If you wouldn't mind, please hit that like, subscribe, smash the notification bell, all that fun stuff. And this person says, how are you doing? I'm blessed. Appreciate you for being here. All right, Brad Gallinghouse. He says, Jake, you said no more promo beyond Mastermind Social wants $10 XRP, but you also said XRP will gap up drastically So understood, no stop at $10. Please explain. So there's, you know what, I'll share this. There was a recent tweet back on May 4th, actually, May the 4th be with you, from David Schwartz. And in that, he talked about how he missed out on the upside on Ethereum. I don't know if it was foreshadowing for XRP or not. But if you want to put your tinfoil hat on, he talked about, he sold his Ethereum at $1.05, current price of XRP. And he said, then it ran up to $12 and he thought it would come back down. So he didn't buy in. And then it jumped to $2,000. So is that foreshadowing for how XRP will move also? I don't know, but it's very interesting to see that we're at the current price that we are. But yeah, on the other side of a $10 XRP, I do think it will gap up. Does it run up and a bunch of retail people sell because they believe that that's the top? If they wanted to shake people out, that would be a great way to do it. I'm not saying that they do or don't. But there are a lot of people that have called for a top for XRP between $8 and $13 for a long, long time. So if it ran to $12, I think a lot of people, and here I want to say this, you never go broke taking profits. If you have a life-changing amount of money on the table and it meets your goals and your criteria over the long term, do it to it. Understand the tax implications, know what you're going to do with that money. There's nothing wrong with that. I don't necessarily, when I make an investment, it's for a longer duration of time. And so, I'm fine to hold it for much, much longer. But not everybody's that way, right? So speak with a financial professional, make sure that you have a plan for $5, $10, $50, $100, $1,000, $2,000, whatever you think it's going to go to. Play scenarios out. Decide when you're going to take some profits. If you are going to take profits, or how you're going to get liquidity from the asset, if that's through earning returns on it after, a couple months, I think is kind of the minimum time that you'll, maybe faster than that. Hopefully we're done faster than that. I think we will be. But, post price appreciation, I think there will be some financial products that you can participate in to earn returns. There will definitely be ways to borrow against it. People will be willing to take it as collateral very easily. There's already people willing to do that at kind of higher interest rates. I think that'll come down as the price goes up. So run some different models, run some different scenarios. But when it comes to the mastermind, we will be shutting that down to the public on the other side of price appreciation. We're very conscious of the individuals that are in there and how well they're going to be doing. And so we just want to make sure that they're protected, and it'll be a significantly higher cost to join the group. And it will also, there'll be a vetting process. You'll have to be invited by somebody else. We will have to do some background checks and other things on you in order for you to participate. But if you want to get in before that happens, you can do it now and pay $2. Check it out. It's month to month, no contract, cancel anytime. It's at beyondbroke.com, and you can use the code beyondbroke, all capitalized, number 1, and then MO right there at the top of the screen up here. Get you the first month for that small amount, and you can see if you like it or not. A lot of people stick around. We have over 17,000 people there in the group. James, Mr. Westcott, he says, legend. What's up, man? Swift has announced real-time settlement coming this summer. I can't find any more information on that. Thoughts on when? I thought that there was something that came out that said that it was supposed to be on the 28th, but I haven't seen that happen yet. And the DTCC came out with an actual press release today saying that they are moving to 24/5, but stocks are not trading 24/5. So, like I mentioned before, I think that they have to drive liquidity into XRP for it to then be used in those applications. Waiting on Japan, waiting on the OCC, and waiting on BlackRock. You will know when it's happening. Yen's still hanging out at 162.15. We'll be watching it tonight while we're on the live. We'll see if maybe Japan will maybe make some action while we're on here. That'd be fun. All right. Jeff, Mr. Dunn, how are you, sir? He says, no doubts your commitment. No one doubts your commitment, but none of the catalyst have translated to token price, not ISO 20022, which I never said would translate to price. I always said that was a messaging standard. Not the Strait of Hormuz being closed. That one's fair. I did call that, but it has not manifested in the reverse carry trade unwinding yet. That has drug out much longer than I anticipated. So that one's fair. Not yen to USD over 160. I did say 161, 162, 160, 161, 162, and we are right there. So I think you're being a little quick on the draw here. Not DTCC going 24.5, which again, stocks aren't trading 24.5 like I thought they had announced that they would. Again, I don't control the DTCC. We're at $1.05 despite it all. Are you not concerned? If not, why? I am not concerned at all. I have zero concern. We are right where we're supposed to be. The timing on this could not be better. Sentiment to exactly what you're pointing out here is in the gutter. Most people are selling off their positions. They're done with it. They're tired. They're beat up. And that is right before good things happen most of the time. So I hear you. I understand your frustration. There is not anybody that watches this channel, or I don't really think there's anybody in the world that wants XRP to move more than I do. I can assure you. There is nobody, maybe besides Brad Garlinghouse or people at Ripple, that have bet more on this than me. There's not. So I'm right there with you, and I'm watching things play out real time, and I am not doubting it at all. So I don't know if that gives you the hopium that you're looking for, but I'm excited. Like, this is the most excited I've been in a long time. I think we're right on the doorstep here of things cracking open in a big way. And it needs to be for them to implement everything that they want to do through the rest of the year. Things got to move here. There's not an option at this point, and Japan's out of options. They're backed into a corner. If we do see an oil spike, off we go. We got C Flutz. They say, last week you mentioned Metallic Cat. My family owned him for 10 years. Holy cow! Along with his son Stevie Ray Vaughan. If you'll be at the Summer Spectacular or the NCHA for charity this year, I'd love to meet you. Very cool. My wife would geek out over that, I'm sure. Yeah, maybe we'll try to make that. There was a lady that when I was in the Hamptons, she invited me to the Hamptons Classic, which is not anything, associated with normal Western stuff that my wife does, or any of those associations. But it was, nice gesture, and this is too. Thank you so much for the invite, and I'll talk to her. I think I could talk her into it. Rick Johnson, good to see you, dude. He says, Russing Son, 162.16 live. What now? Brilliant 170? I don't think so. If they don't quell this here, this could get ugly very quickly for Japan. They're going to have to tamp down or increase the valuation of their currency against the dollar aggressively at this point. The Bank of Japan has come out this evening again multiple times and said that they are looking to make aggressive moves in the currency market in tandem with the US. So we will see what announcement comes out probably while we're sleeping tonight, if it doesn't happen while we're on the air here. Good to see. He says, legend. Smoke was right. On June 28th, the DTCC and SWIFT wouldn't start any T+0. Now he says that July 13th is just one-day test event, and that ends the same day. I'm not going to ask you if T+0 is needed before July 13th, because I'm sure you'll say yes. I don't know what to believe. That's fair. Again, stocks are not trading 24/5 like they said they would be. And SWIFT has also not made an announcement that they're live. So I again, I'm not the DTCC or Swift. I can't control when they actually roll things out or what they do. We're close here. Like there's not, like I said earlier, I know people are down in the dumps. People want it to happen yesterday. Nobody wants it to happen more than I do. Promise you. It's been a long time for me. A lot longer than, well, there are a lot of people that I've met that have been here 7, 8, 9, sometimes longer years. I've been here 6. So for me to believe in something for that long, and I said this in the mastermind earlier today, if you wanted to get wealthy, the normal way to do that would be through building a business. It would not be through making a small investment in a nascent currency. That would be gambling in most circumstances. I don't really view this as gambling because of all the information that's out there if you'll do the research and understand what it's going to be used for. But in most circumstances, you would have to work, unless you're some lucky 20-year-old that comes up with some crazy AI thing and raises a bunch of capital through venture capital or catches a wave. You're working for 10, 20 years to build a real business and then exit. And that's a grind. It is a beating. You're going to have to take on debt. There's going to be times when you think your business is going to go under. You have other people counting on you with payroll. You have vendors, you have clients, you have all of these other things that holding a cryptocurrency really doesn't hold a candle to. Like, I know this feels rough because it's taking a long time, but in comparison to the ways that other people have generated significant amounts of wealth, like, I'm not trying to discount it or say that it's not difficult. It still is. But this is pretty easy in comparison to finding a market segment where you have traction, and then scaling a corporation in order to be able to meet demand, creating demand for something that people don't understand yet, creating a whole new industry and then driving demand for that like Uber did. Like I'll just say it's kind of a cakewalk in comparison to generating wealth in that capacity. You literally just buy, hold, and wait. And then eventually, and same thing with Bitcoin. Like, if you had the discipline, if you had the patience to hold Bitcoin for 10 years, you're financially free. You're good to go. So I don't know. Again, I'm not trying to discount it or discourage anybody. Like I said, it is difficult, and I understand the frustration, but it's an inevitable outcome, in my opinion. So hang in there, and you will be rewarded. It is going to happen. Rick Johnson, he says, my friend Dennis says that the donut spare should be called a bagel spare. He's from New Jersey. KT Baby must drive around on 4 bagel spares. Oh, you guys rib each other on here. It's fun. He says again, here we go again. You stepped into the Oval Office to meet with President Lincoln. Well, it's sad news for the tea lady. Robert General E. Lee surrendered to General Grant today. The war's over. Her side lost. We haven't, not yet. We do need to see things escalate here. But Japan's backed into a corner. There's not another way out of this without them raising interest rates and setting things off here. So we'll have to see what the announcements are. I'm going to butcher this name, so I'm not even going to try. Appreciate you. He says, I'm super stressed with something happening with my Decent wallet. Literally just waiting for price appreciation so I can onboard with you. Any advice in the interim? Blessings. Appreciate you, my man. This is a left-handed coffee cup. Spilt that on myself. I don't have anything, unfortunately. You're doing a great job. You got it off of an exchange. You're on a good cold wallet, in my opinion. We obviously want to work with you too. That's why we created the solution that we created, where you can add beneficiaries, you can add your spouse onto the account, you know that it's protected, it's insured, segregated, bankruptcy remote over there at Anchorage. We're working to become multi-custodial. So some other custodians, hopefully announcing that here in the near future with the other counterparties that we'll be working with. So we'll be able to diversify your holdings across multiple custodians with the same assurances and security to be able to, you know, mitigate the risk of siloing it in one spot, which is normal in traditional wealth management. It just doesn't exist in crypto. So I think you're going to be just fine. And I know it's stressful. Believe me, that's the reason I did what I did and got everything over here. Makes it super simple. Spouses on the account. Anything happens, no issues. Till then, I would make sure that you have your seed phrase written down on a couple different pieces of paper. I would have those in a couple different locations, and make sure that you have a crypto buddy or your spouse is, you know, very capable of moving things on and off of an exchange and using the wallet. Would be the only advice that I would have in the short term for you. I don't think it's going to take that long for you, though. I think we'll be able to work with you pretty soon here. We got CJ Keving. One, he says, thanks for all the work on the yield product. Lost job, may have to leave DAG with no yield. If XRP hits $15, I'd have to sell to pay AUM. Keep pushing. We're close. We've got multiple products or multiple irons in the fire, and I'm hopeful that I'll be able to roll out some of those announcements here in the near future for you guys. Clients will know first. So sounds like you're a client. You will know when the yield product is available, and then we'll make that announcement publicly. Excited for the optionality that I think we're going to have here in the short term. Roughing it. Hey, ma'am. Good to see you. She says, can you please tell me where you found the info stating Japan is going to coordinate an announcement with the US? I'd like to get a better following on that stuff. Squawk. First Squawk over there on Twitter. First Squawk. Yeah, there it is. This guy, this has got to be a bot, but it puts out financial and political information almost every other minute on this page. As soon as there's an announcement pretty much anywhere on anything, it goes out there, finds it. It's got to be an AI that runs this page, but it's real time. It stays up to date on pretty much any jurisdiction, any central bank announcement, BIS, IMF, anything from President Trump around the state of Hormuz or Iran, hedge funds, Bloomberg, you name it. It's one of the ones that I follow and consistently shows up in my feed because of how much it posts. But that's where I was reading that there would be a coordinated announcement between the US and Japan. Let me see if I can find where that was at specifically. I mean, it named, you know, a couple different people there at the Bank of Japan, said that they, you know, did not want to comment on the current currency situation. Anyway, that's a good one to follow. And then there's a few other ones that I can't think of off the top of my head, but if you're following that one, it'll probably, you know, in your algorithm, push those to the top. Code, why not? Says, what I researched, the settlement is not changing until full launch in October. The trades are still settling T+1 for now. Okay, well, obviously so, because they're not trading 24/5. We haven't seen the stock market go live with that yet, even though it says the DTCC can facilitate that. I guess the exchanges are supposed to start tokenization on the 13th. I still think if they're going to start tokenizing stocks, and again, this is predicated on a conversation that Monica Long had with the president of NASDAQ last year as well. Okay, so this is not me saying this. She was on stage. She said the first place that we are going to be implementing distributed ledger technologies on the back end of the stock market for reconciliation and settlement. Those were her words. So prior to tokenization of stocks, that's what they're doing first. Also, you have Monica Long earlier this year, an XRP Community Day, saying, she was asked, what words would you use to describe XRP here in 2026? And she said, full-scale institutional adoption this year. Also at Swell last year, I've been there. This is my third year to go. It was the first time I ever heard financial institutions from State Street, BlackRock, Blackstone, and many others talking about actual timelines for implementation, all the way from this year in 2026 until 2028. They said, 2028 is when we kind of see the actual full-scale implementation of everything. So I think that means that they're going to be utilizing crypto this year. We're going to see real utility. Again, pointing to Brad Garlinghouse and his speech he just gave on CNBC about real utility for crypto and that driving price and adoption and liquidity. And then through 2028 and probably beyond that, we'll continue to see the asset class as a whole continue to expand, liquidity expand, prices expand. That's what people are here for, I know. So, like, if it did take you till October, are you guys going to be, you're going to give up now in July? I don't think it's going to take that long. I really don't. But, if you are holding tight to them settling T+0 and whatever date they're going to give you for that. And they haven't given a date, by the way. They already have the option to settle. So just so you guys know, May 28th, 2024, if you want to go look it up, it was the day that they moved to T+1. If you go look at the text, it says with the option to settle real time or T+0 with a digital asset. It's the language. So they already have the option. There just needs to be enough liquidity in the asset that they want to use. They got to do that with a supply shock, a short squeeze, whatever you want to call it, to be able to push the price to where it needs to be. That's going to take Japan. It's going to take BlackRock. It's going to take Evernorth. And the other thing that I'm waiting for, which we still don't have, is the OCC giving guidance on stable coins so that when all of those, treasuries that Bank of Japan dumps and the EU, we've also got some things happening over there this week, flow back to the US, we have to have a way to be able to stabilize the bond market. So it would not be surprising to me to see the OCC come out sometime this week with that. They do have until July 28th, though. John, Mr. Dunning, he says, went to get a DAG account set up and migrate my Laughlin over, but DAG site was not letting me bypass $1,000 sign-up stage, only 6 months into Laughlin, so I don't think there would be a charge. Yeah, you shouldn't have a charge. You should be able to just upload your LLC documents. Reach out to support. Just email support@digitalfamilyoffice.io, and they can get you taken care of. Not sure why. So $1,000 wouldn't be, that was probably Digital Wealth Partners that you were on. So again, we're going to do a rebrand. Everything will be under one website here soon. Thank God. That's my doing. I squirrel and start different things, and we're bringing everything together. So right now, you need to go to digitalfamilyoffice.io or app.digitalascensiongroup.com. Either one of those would get you to the LLC stuff. If it's $1,000 that you're looking at, well, I guess that could have been the renewal because it used to be $700. Yeah, email. If you already have an LLC with us, we might still be able to give you a discount on the renewal. I'm not saying we will or won't. I'm just saying you should email and ask. If you already had an LLC that you set up with us last year or before, and you want that $700 discount, or the $300 discount on the renewal for $700 renewal, you should email us at support@digitalfamilyoffice.io, and they may or may not honor that fee. about to be beyond broke. He says, in best Ace Ventura voice, I have a dog. His name was Bingo. Let's check the bingo card. Also, could you touch base on Ripple's CADFAL license July 1st? Let's give that a Google here. CADFAL. CADFAL. Digital financial asset law license or submit completed application to California Department of Justice and Protection and Innovation, the DFPI, by July 1st to legally operate and offer, including RLUSD stablecoin in the state. Interesting. Ripple's involvement. Ripple has actively engaged with the DFPI through the regulatory process to voice support for balanced digital asset oversight. So this kind of reminds me of the NYDFS, which is the New York digital asset, regulatory body there. I think that the bit license that they have is actually a pretty good standard for things. I know that that's made it very difficult for people in New York to purchase crypto because not very many people have been able to actually get a bit license. But I will say that it has protected a lot of people in New York from participating in things that didn't go so well also. This seems something similar here. I don't know if it just pertains to stablecoins or not, but it looks like they have to get that license or submit a completed application to the department by July 1st. So knowing Ripple and their attorneys, I would expect that that's already been applied for and that they're probably in the approval process. So we will have to see, what that ends up being for RLUSD. But RLUSD is really poised to do exceptionally well here in 2026. Japan, just adopted RLUSD. A lot of countries, they just got their license over there in Luxembourg for the broader EU. A lot of things falling into place for Ripple here. They also got their banking license. It sounded like that's pretty much approved also. So lots of green lights happening for them. It looks like that's just one more licensure or hurdle that they'll have to acquire. Chase, Mr. Spencer, he says, if whoever controls the money controls the world and the BIS is the bank of banks, is it possible they wait to see move on Clarity Act, then overrule if we need to move? We didn't talk about the Clarity Act at the beginning of this, but we'll go ahead and touch on it here. So definitely not going to pass by July 4th. I know Patrick Witt and many other people that have been advocates for that, and including myself, would have loved to see it passed by July 4th. I've been very transparent that I did not think that was going to happen. It is very apparent at this point that it is not going to happen. Congress is adjourned. They're on vacation. They will come back. They will have another 3 weeks before their August recess. And then we get into midterms, and I don't see things moving forward there. So President Trump has also said that he will not sign another piece of legislation into law until the SAVE Act is passed. I think that he would continue to do that even in opposition to the Clarity Act to getting through the Senate and the House. If they get that to his desk and they have not passed the SAVE Act, I don't think he will sign that bill into law, which is disappointing. So they need to get the SAVE Act passed, which would require, voter identity and all the stuff, which I don't know why there's such contention around that. That makes a lot of sense to me, but what do I know? I'm not a politician. So I don't have a whole lot of hope for it. I'm still 95% that we do not see the Clarity Act this year. Even other people that were very optimistic early on have lowered their percentage that they think it's going to get passed this year, which is unfortunate, again, because I was literally on Capitol Hill the day that it got passed by the House, advocating for it and the Genius Act, which was then passed through, middle of last summer. it was an interesting tweet that was put out by Tony Valentino earlier today. Maybe it was yesterday. I don't know if you guys follow that account or not. He's kind of a cryptic, like Ripple, XRP, Riddler account. He mentioned that he thought that the Clarity Act probably won't get passed, and that Trump would designate, XRP and the XRPL as the main financial network for the U.S. Interesting proposition. I've said for a long time that XRP and the XRPL do not need the Clarity Act. I still believe that wholeheartedly. I think that we can see significant price appreciation without the Clarity Act being passed for XRP. And it's really it kind of gives XRP a moat until it is passed. And, Ripple's out there advocating. They've got literal buses and all kinds of stuff out there trying to drive recognition for the Clarity Act and encouraging people to move that along. Have some separate thoughts about that. But anyway, all that being said, no, I do think that the BIS is the highest authority, though, and whatever they say goes. And if they give XRP a tier 1 asset designation, it will be riskless and will be adopted by every single bank. Mr. Johnson again, he says, Bank of Japan, hurry up. Jake talks about feeling the squeeze. So start squeezing and filling up your depends. Oh my gosh. You owe us for Pearl Harbor. I don't want to go down the rabbit hole on Pearl Harbor, but there's a there if you guys want to go do some research on Pearl Harbor. Down Low Chaos says, hey T-Man, any advice for new golfers? Thanks again, T-Man. Advice for new golfers. Practice. Like, I know that sounds stupid, but so like I break my game down into 4 different categories. There's ball striking, and then you kind of have pitch shots, you have chip shots, and then you have putting. And my ball striking has always been decent. Well, I say that. So when I first started playing, I remember my first round, I played Possum Kingdom and like kept score. And there were like large gullies and you had to hit over ravines and all kinds of crazy stuff. And I think I shot like 156. It was atrocious. It was horrible. But it pissed me off enough that I was like, okay, like I got to get better at this. And plus my dad was really good and I'm competitive. So I was like, can't let my dad beat me like that bad. He shot like half of my score. So, I practiced a lot, would go to the range, hit balls. First time I shot under par, I was 15. I shot 69 on my birthday when I turned 15. And I had been playing since I've been playing about a year, a little over a year. But it was every day. Like I played every single day. And then I think the best I ever shot was like 67. I never got much better than that. But that's mostly because my short game's always been not great. Ball striking has always been a strong point for me. Chip shots and pitch shots. I used to be, when I practiced all the time, I would practice out of the bunker and spend hours and hours pitching around the green and from 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80 yards out, hitting shots. And that's really all it is. It's just repetition. One of the things that I would say probably would help a new golfer is if, like, there's a lot of different swing techniques, but you could go look up the stack and tilt technique. You're not moving your body and transferring your weight. You just stay on your left side. And you can kind of work on your swing path doing that. And then that way you don't have to think about all the different moving pieces. It just it simplifies things. So I'd be, make sure you figure the grip out. And then once you do get good enough, I will say one thing that will make a big difference for your game. I remember like 2 breakthroughs for me, because my dad just had some crappy Wilsons that I played with to begin with. When I got fitted for golf clubs, big change in your ability to actually connect with the ball and do well. And then golf shoes. I remember the first time I wore golf shoes, and I was like, oh my gosh, like my feet stay planted, which again, novel concept, but I was 13 years old, so it seemed like a revelation to me. But anyway, um, those are just, some things off the top of my head that you might look at and kind of how I think about my golf game. Live to give grandpa. Good to see you. He says, Jake, off topic, what's your pick for a quality, understated luxury sports watch? Not Rolex, something only watch people might appreciate. FP Journe is interesting. Patek Philippe. Most people know what AP is. Like Calatrava, stuff that's or World Time, things that have a lot of history behind them. A lot of people like Omega, Speedmaster. If you're looking for more of a kind of a brute force looking watch that's similar to a Rolex. I'm just now getting into this because I think I want to get into watches, so I'm starting to like learn about them. I'm finding out that Richard Mille and like Jacob & Co. are a little too flashy. Like you're pointing out, they're very expensive and they're very nice, and there's only a few made each year. But if you're looking to show off, great. I like stuff like you said that's understated. Doesn't need to be like I want people that know to know, and other people to look at it and just be like, oh, it's a normal watch. So those are some of the brands that I look at on a regular basis. Been a few others that I can't think of the name of the one that I was looking at the other day. It was kind of a fancier brand, but they only make like 40 or 50 watches per year. They're super expensive though, like over $1 million a piece. So for most people, that seems silly. I kind of think it's silly. But it's a status symbol for men too, right? Like women have purses. If you have a Hermes bag or some of the other things, shoes. Women notice shoes and bags. Men notice watches and cars. That's kind of the same parallel. But yeah, I've been watching a little more YouTube on watches to try to learn about them. There's some people that are fanatical and they can name off all the numbers. There was a guy that was on Graham Stephan's podcast not that long ago that's been in watches a long time, and he had some really good information. Chase again, good to see you, sir. He says, thank you for all that you do. Social member of the mastermind. Small bag, 2000 XRP. Don't tell people how much you have, Chase. Taking your advice, investing in myself. What was the best book you read to grow? Oh, man. I mean, there's Think and Grow Rich. I mean, that's probably the obvious answer. It depends on how tactical you want to get. And depends on what you want to learn, right? So if it's business stuff, I like Patrick Bet-David's Next 5 Moves. Blitz scaling. If you're into private equity, I'd have to pull up, I'm over here on TikTok, otherwise I'd just pull up my whole list of books. We have a ton of books listed in the mastermind. If you said you're in the mastermind, so in the general chat, there is a channel for books, and at the beginning of that, I put a bunch of books in there that I've read over the past couple years. I try to read one book a week. I don't always meet that criteria. I like to listen to my books when I'm traveling or doing whatever I'm doing. Sometimes I walk and just listen to chapters in the morning. I just got through What It Takes by Steve Schwarzman, who is the founder of Blackstone. So it was pretty much like his whole life story and all of the like serendipitous things that happened to him that allowed him to be an outlier. That's another good one. Malcolm Gladwell, Outliers. That one was an eye opener for me. I would encourage people to read Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell. When I was younger, I thought you could just work really hard and become successful, and to some extent you can. Like, I think you can work your way to being a millionaire. To become a centimillionaire or billionaire, there needs to be a lot that lines up for you, and you need to be able to recognize opportunities and be in the right place at the right time with the right skill set, know the right people in order to be able to make stuff happen. It's not just like, and that's why there's only, call it 3,000 billionaires on the planet. It's a very unique combination of things in order to be able to achieve that level of wealth. And there's probably some luck involved in that. The other thing that was interesting to me, and I've talked about this before in that book, is people that are extremely intelligent, like their IQ is above 160, have a hard time taking risk because they can actually quantify the risk that they're taking, analyze, how much potential opportunity for success there is, and they won't take the risk because it's not a likely outcome that they will actually be able to achieve it, so they won't take it. Whereas if you're just a little bit dumber than that, like I am, you'll swing, even if you know that the chances are low. So hopefully that's valuable for you. But again, if you join the mastermind, there's a whole channel in there on fantastic books to read. Christ Conscious, good to see you again. She says, sorry, my question was not clear. Could DEP issue a check to pay, DWP issue a check to pay mortgage in care of me as my biz bank account? Will only 2 months this old and low balance 5%. I mean, to pay DWP as a service fee for writing the check. Still confused on what you're asking for here. So we are not.
Is she talking about bill pay?
I mean, yeah, we can do bill pay if that's what you're asking. We can absolutely do. We already have that service. There was a full webinar last week on that. Sorry, when you said mortgage, I just assumed you meant the whole thing. It does say check to pay off mortgage. So that is what she's saying, is to pay off the mortgage, not just pay, monthly payments on the mortgage. We're not like a philanthropic foundation that just issues checks and pays things off for people. I would think of us more like an intermediary that works with financial institutions to be able to get you the best deal. So we orchestrate relationships and utilize the digital assets in whatever capacity that we can in order to be able to create financial products that suit you for your needs. So if you're looking for a 5% mortgage, we're also not like a real estate broker. We do have a few people that are licensed for that here, but we don't, sit as the intermediary and take a fee on that. We would just coordinate with whoever the partner was to be able to get you the loan to be able to pay the mortgage off against your crypto, and we don't get anything from that. And we're happy to do that, by the way. We just want to be able to provide value and create solutions for people in the market. So still not quite clear on what you're asking. I'm sorry if I didn't answer it the way that you were looking for. I would like to figure it out for you, because I think there's a there. I'm just not sure. We're not quite speaking the same lingo. Fresco, he says, join Carbon One. Can't wait to work with your team when price appreciation hits almost 10K XRP. It's a glorious time for crypto. It is a glorious time for crypto. I would agree. Glad to have you in the group, by the way. If you want to join the group, if you're watching this, again, please like, subscribe, share. I always forget to say that. And you can go to beyondbroke.com and use the code beyondbroke, all capitalized, #1, and then MO, like Mary Oster, gets you the first month for $2. Canceling time month to month, no contract. But we have, like I said, 17,000 people that continue to pay every single month because of the value we provide there. Morgan, Dave, they say grateful for you, mate. Mate, I like it. If market prices Fed cuts with weak jobs data, then the carry trade margin shrinks. Meanwhile, implied cuts make USD versus JPY fall and reduce chance of BOJ hike. Aren't those opposing forces? They are. If we had lowered interest rates in the last Fed meeting, I don't think the Bank of Japan would be in its current position. I think that our currency would have weakened against theirs, and I think that that's actually kind of what they anticipated happening. I think we kind of juked them a little bit with Warsh coming in. You know, he said he was going to lower interest rates, and the Bank of Japan thought, okay, cool, like we can raise 25 bips. If they lower 25 bips, we'll be able to maintain this. And then we didn't lower. So it's now left them in a precarious situation. But to your point, if we lowered aggressively, the problem there is, and the reason that we haven't, is that would also unwind the reverse carry trade. And the reason being would be the yields on our treasuries would drop enough that people would have incentive to go ahead and swap into Japanese treasuries. And then we're in the same position. There's going to be a lot of people liquidating collateral, liquidating their stock positions. Somebody will yell fire in the theater. Everybody runs for the door at the same time. And we're in the same spot. So that's why, like, it really doesn't matter who moves. And the Bank of Japan can't lower interest rates because the inflation's too high in their economy. They can't make their currency get weaker against the dollar. That would be the only way that the carry trade wouldn't really unwind, is if they were able to force their interest rates down. They're not able to do that. So we could continue to raise interest rates, but then that strengthens our dollar against their currency, and then they lose purchasing power that way. So they're in a lose-lose spot. And until they both agree that it's time, and Japan can raise interest rates aggressively and we can lower interest rates aggressively, and we're cool to be able to absorb those treasuries as they flow back, it's going to be a stalemate. And that's why I'm saying the OCC needs to come out with stablecoin regulation pronto, because we're on the cusp of it here. All right. Dr. Denise, good to see you. She says, things are heating up for the domino theory. What is the rapid path to useful liquidity for the reverse carry trade? Can BlackRock ETF be enough? Yen plus failed peace agreement could set off quickly. Yeah, I think oil is still going to be the catalyst here. Like I mentioned, there's a large discrepancy between how the market has oil priced right now versus how much oil is actually available in the open market. And there's going to be a snapback moment. And that snapback moment may start with the US saying we're no longer going to supply oil to the rest of the world because our oil reserves are too low. And if they were to come out and say that, off we go. So I'm waiting. We're here. They can't kick the can much further here. Brent says 3 a.m. Central Time, Bank of Japan statement announcement coming. Overnight? Tinfoil hat. I don't know if you guys got that one or not. I will not be awake for that. I'm happy to wake up to a much higher price XRP tomorrow if that's the case. David says, talk a little bit about XLM. Could XLM go higher? Sure. Yeah. I mean, it's been highly correlated with XRP for a long time. It's got Sorband smart contracts. It's had a bunch of stuff that the XRPL has been rolling out here recently for amendments that have been passed. I think it's kind of the test net for the XRPL before, you know, they have side chains like the Zahao side chain or hooks. They also have the EVM side chain. I do think that hooks will likely make its way to the mainnet over the long term. I don't know when that's going to be. That's a big proposal. That's a big move for when they do that. That would be, you know, full smart contract capability. Right now they're doing, you know, amendment by amendment kind of smart contract components, the XRPL. That would be an actual layer on the XRPL's layer 1 for smart contract capabilities. You have Sorband smart contracts on XLM, which is kind of piloted. that type of technology. They are lightweight smart contracts. They're not as robust as EVM stuff that's coded in Python and Solidity, and much more complex smart contracts are capable in that language. But yeah, I think that XLM will probably do exceptionally well over the long term. I look at it like XRP's gold and XLM would kind of be silver. I don't know if that ratio would hold true for XRP to XLM right now. That the ratio is far less than what I think it will be in the future. If you look at the gold to silver ratio historically, it's kind of 40 to 1. Biblically, you could argue 14 to 1. But if XRP is, call it, $2,000 or $10,000, I think that XLM could be 1/40th of that price. So it's, I don't have my handy dandy calculator here in front of me, but let's say it's 2,000. That'd be a $50 XLM. Similar to where I think gold is headed. I think gold's headed back to 2,100, 2,200, and I think silver's headed back to $50 before we see those move substantially higher. And people didn't like that for a long time, but here we are. Silver's back in the 50s. Gold hasn't quite pulled that back that much yet, but I do think that there's one more manipulation of the gold market coming here before Basel III. XRP Ripple Dippler. They say it's happening, legend. I'm stoked. Let's go. I am too, dude. Like I said, this is the most excited I've been in a long time. We are knocking on the door here. We'll see what they say at 3 a.m. tonight. I don't know. Like I said, it's supposed to be a coordinated announcement between Japan and the U.S. Be cool if it was about XRP. Key to the City says, Jake, please give me the list of things to pay attention for as we go forward. I'm 100% locked in. Keep up the good work, man. Let's hope my house in Miami soon. Let's hope I have my house in Miami soon. My wife promised me. One of the things that I built into the application, built out some educational models for all of our clients. Probably the thing that I think most people will unknowingly or knowingly do when they do see price appreciation will be quit their job, and then also have significant lifestyle creep. I would discourage you from doing either of those aggressively or quickly post price appreciation. I would hang out, and I know you've waited a long time, and victory will taste so good, and it will be so hard to be disciplined. But if you can, if it's possible, wait 3 to 6 months. Make sure that you have everything structured. Make sure that you have income to replace your income, and it's stable and going to be continuous, that you're not having to dip into principal. If you do want to get out of debt, pay the debt off, start buying assets that produce cash flow for you, that you can put on your balance sheet that will appreciate, that service its own debt and spit off extra for you to be able to cover the liabilities that you want to take on. It's going to take discipline for people. And most people don't want to hear that. They've been very disciplined. They've been very patient during the bear market and over the last couple of years, accumulating their position, and they want to indulge. And I don't blame you at all. And I'm not saying not to at all. I'm just saying, like, it would be ideal if you would start to accumulate assets, make sure things are structured properly, protect yourself from creditors, and don't improve your lifestyle faster than you're able to make sure things are shored up. I know you want the house in Miami. My wife wants a house too. We're going to get it. But just be aware of the trade-offs that you're making, and understand, what you're getting into. Large properties come with additional bills that most people don't think about. You've got the yard, and you've got land, and you've got to maintain fence, and you've got to maintain the house, and you've got other structures on the property. If you've got wait staff, if you've got a chef, if you've got, I don't know how extravagant you want to get. Okay. If $50,000 a month post taxes is like really good for most people. You can pretty much do whatever you want with that type of money. That's $500,000 a year, $600,000 a year post taxes. So you really probably need $1 million a year in income. There's not a whole lot beyond, like, unless you're just, super extravagant and doing crazy stuff, buying a bunch of tickets for your friends to the World Cup. But most people that I talk to are pretty simple. They want to be private. They just want to enjoy time with their kids. They do want to be able to, quit their job that they don't necessarily enjoy and pursue their passions or have fulfillment. If you don't know what that is, don't immediately quit your job. Keep working there. And having FU money and working for somebody else is nice, because you can walk away at any time. But I would encourage you, like I said, to just be disciplined for at least 3 to 6 months. Make sure everything's shored up, and don't make any rash decisions without really thinking things through and speaking with your professionals to make sure it's the right choice. All right, I am a little bit past an hour in, so I'm going to go to the bottom of the chat. I'm going to work my way back up. Again, appreciate you guys taking time out of your Monday. Please like, subscribe, share if you're getting value from this, and we'll jump to the next one. Reed, thanks for the super chat. I don't see your words here, but I appreciate the donation. XRP Cars says, Jake, need help. Paid $2,000 for the LLC and another $700. Waited 3 months for uphold. Now DEG can't serve my LLC and suggests that I create another one. Yeah, I don't know why in the world we wouldn't just cover that for you if you need another one, my man. I will talk to the team about that. I don't like that. Will you email support for me? What? Wife's yelling at me from the other room. Oh, is it a multi-member LLC? You didn't put that in here. You just put LLC. If it is a multi-member LLC, we are working on that capability right now. We will have that live in the near future. So let's touch on that for a second, because some people are very adamant that they want to use a multi-member LLC. I'm assuming it's you and your spouse. I'm going to make an assumption here. I could be wrong about that. There are 15 states that allow for a QJV, or a qualified joint venture, where there are no tax implications for starting a corporation with your spouse. So that's fine, but it is a multi-member LLC, and we haven't built out the administrative components just yet to be able to service that the way that we would like to. We can do it. We are working on it. The majority of the people that we work with do set up a single member LLC. And the reason for that is it's much easier to be able to get approved for KYB and all the other stuff. But alongside that, if you're not in a QJV state, there are no tax implications for moving the assets in there. You can always move the assets in there at basis if you list them on the capital contributions page that way. And then you can just put your spouse on there as a signer and as a manager. That's the recommendation that we make to most people. If you're married, most states are community property states anyway. There are some that aren't, right? So again, you just want to look at the laws in your jurisdiction. But if there's not, then you can add additional language to the operating agreement to make sure that they're taken care of in a situation where, God forbid, something happens to you. You can also add them to the account at DWP on a single member. It just makes it far less complicated if it's a single member LLC. But again, there are people that, for whatever reason, are adamant that they want a multi-member LLC. That just requires, it's a lot of additional stuff, because then you have to draft the operating agreement in a way where there's survivor provisions. If you decide to dissolve the corporation, who gets what, when do they get it, under what circumstances. There's just a lot of stuff inside that operating agreement that's not standard and has to be discussed and you need to go back and forth on. So not saying that that's your position at all. If it was a single member LLC and they're telling you need a new one, I don't want to give certain people's info on here. Email support and send them a screenshot of this super chat and say, Jake told me to email you and I would like you to tag him on the email. And I will take care of you. So thank you for bringing it to my attention. Stuff like that, just so you guys know, like, we want to do better. We're always fine with constructive criticism. You know, that person was very nice. They explained their situation. They just want feedback and understanding. That's what I'm here for. And so if you guys have stuff like that, you know, I don't want it to turn into a complaining fest, but don't hesitate to reach out to support. And again, you can tell them to push it to me if it really is an issue and you need help. Fallen Partridge, they say, Carbon One member here. I don't interact with the community. I'm waiting on price appreciation to work with you. I pay because I want to support you. And if that means more access to the masses, respect. Thank you, man. I really appreciate that. I really do. Humbled and grateful for you. I'll say this, like, I know a lot of people hear the number of people in the mastermind and they're like, oh, it must be a lot of money. It is, but most of that goes back into the business. Had it not been for the mastermind community, I don't think that we would have been able to scale the corporation and hire the great professionals that we have. That has helped tremendously over the years. That community, and that's why I'm so adamant that I want to get back to everybody and create solutions, and that we're all part of a cohesive ecosystem, and as a whole, we can work together in a way that we can't individually. Like the sum of the parts is greater as the whole. So, you know, we're able to then advocate on everybody's behalf and go to these financial institutions. And because they've been so nice to work with us and they trust the process and the systems that we've created, you're managing $1 billion. That gives you leverage when you go talk to an Anchorage or a BitGo or a Ripple Prime or FalconX or any of these other large institutions out here. They take you seriously, and they're willing to figure out maybe how to work together, right? And then that helps everybody that is working with us, because then we can democratize access to things that they wouldn't be able to get on their own. So similar for the mastermind, it's a fantastic group. The culture is fantastic there. You start with aspirations, and to see what it's become is just incredible. And I really appreciate you, just kind of explaining that you're helping. And it makes a big difference. It's allowed us, it's been a privilege to be in a position to work through all of this and build solutions that are really for the XRP family and the people that understand what we're trying to do. So thank you. Christ is King. Love the name. He says, how soon can we see price appreciation at 3 to 4 digits? Many skeptics out there saying that can't be in the short term. AI models as well need some hopium. I'm trying to think of a good example. This is what comes to mind. So my statistics teacher opened the class with saying, statistically, what is the likelihood that you will die? And everybody knows that the answer is 100%, right? Like, everybody's going to die. But if you looked at the real statistics, it's actually like, it's not quite 50-50. It's like 70-something% chance that you're going to die, because that's how many more people are alive today than have ever been. So there's different things, like if you're looking at objective data, like an AI model would, it's not going to give you the real answer. And same thing with people. People want tangible proof. They want to read it in a book. They want to hear it from somebody. Thinking critically through things and having faith in something and seeing outcomes that don't exist yet. Seeing things that don't exist could be determined as crazy. Definition. You could call me crazy, and that would probably be objectively right. You could call me delusional, and I actually prefer that one, or lunatic, if you are going to make those types of remarks. I'm cool with that. You have to be delusional if you want crazy outcomes, things that the average person can't comprehend. And for extended periods of time too. Like, what do they say? Genius and insane are just next door neighbors, and they borrow each other's shirt. Like, you're going to be a little bit out there. Most people aren't going to get it if you really are going to be successful, and they're going to think that you're crazy or wrong for an extended period of time until you're proven right. One of the best known cases of that would be Michael Burry in 2008. He had death threats from LPs and people in his fund, and like, he ended up being right. Took him 2 years, almost lost all the money that they invested with him. Then they made billions of dollars. I'm a little overdue. I'm a little more than 2 years at this point since I originally put out the domino theory in March of 2024. So again, ye of little faith, people that don't take risk, people that don't have vision, normally don't do exceptional things in their life. So I would much rather be the eternal optimist and have the vision and see where things are going and position myself before those happen, rather than waiting to read it in a book or hear an announcement. Heath, Mr. Thornton, he says, Jake, what's up, brother? I haven't seen anyone else with so much conviction in XRP. It's very refreshing to see your faith. Appreciate you, dude. Yeah, I think just people have been beat down for a long period of time. There's other people that make great content out there, and even most of them are hedging at this point. I see where things are at. I don't know why people would be hedging if you actually know what's going on here. So the Bank of Japan's, I don't know, supposed to make an announcement at 3 a.m. Central Standard Time. I don't know what it's going to be about. Are they going to move the market? Are things going to shift overnight tonight? Are we going to wake up to a much higher price XRP? I would love that. Not holding my breath, but things need to move here. Like, they can't keep things at the status quo. There's going to have to be a shift. If you want to get woo-woo, the astrology also says there needs to be a shift here. July 4th is really interesting for the U.S.'s astrology, 250th anniversary. So we'll just have to see. I think this could be one of those weeks. What do they say? There's decades where weeks happen, and then there's weeks where decades happen. Something like that. Anyway, I think this could be one of those weeks where decades happen. Silver and Blacksmith, cool name. They say, Jake, my man, please replace Discord, please. Here's the deal. Okay, so I would love to. Believe me, there's a lot of people that have problems and cannot use the Discord. We have a website. There's a lot of really good information over there on the website that you guys can get access to, irrespective of what level you're in. Actually, Carbon 1 or higher gets access to most of the stuff on the website. Course material, videos, all kinds of stuff. For us to recreate Discord and have the security and all the other things that are required for audio calls and the town halls and everything else, when we originally priced that out, because we did, it was a couple $1 million for the development. With the advancements in AI and at the rate that they are progressing, that's come down substantially. But there are still components that there's physical infrastructure that's required that is not cheap in order to be able to facilitate that. And so until that becomes economical for us, which if XRP pops off, it's probably economical. But until that's the case, we'll continue to use Discord. But at some point, I agree with you. You know, there's a lot of people that find friction with that product, and we would like to replace it with something that is less friction for people. This person, because I'm going to butcher their name, I'm sorry. They said, Jake, what can you say to a person like me that's losing faith in XRP and is concluding that its value will never reach near $15? I see you say 1,000, and I just can't understand how. I don't know. I come on here every week, twice a week, and explain all this. Watch my lives. I'll say this too. It's not for everybody. Not everybody is meant to see this or participate. You may have a different path in life, and there's nothing wrong with that. So, you know, I have very high conviction. I've had enough conversations with certain people and understand the long-term outcome here, and how it's justifiable and will happen. But there's a lot of people that are very intelligent that I hold in high regard and have a lot of respect for, that also cannot see it. They don't get it. They think 5, 10, 20 bucks is like the highest that it's going to go. I think Bank of Japan just tried to intervene in the market there. It is not holding. It is not working. So all that being said, you know, like, I'm not here to convince you one way or the other. I'm just one source out here on the internet. I encourage people to listen to a lot of different people. If you are looking for some additional faith and hopium and all that stuff, you can watch the other lives that I have done over time. Sorry, watching the 1 minute chart over here on the JPY versus the USD, a big red candle that just came in, trying to drive it down. It's at 162.1 after hanging out at 162.2 for a while. I don't know. I don't think they're going to be able to hold it down tonight. I think it's going to rip higher unless they raise interest rates. David, Mr. Valentine, he says, Jake, for the timepieces, Hublot, they are owned by LVMH group, exquisite brand. I collect Hublot. Tell Sebastian I said hello. Happy 4th, secret weapon. There are a lot of people that are into Hublot. There are people that believe that that's overrated. There's people that say that it's underrated. But I think that's with every watch brand. Seiko is another one of those. There's some people, Grand Seiko, I guess, is like the better one. Some people say that that's way better than Rolex and they will never wear anything else. You know, everybody has their brand of car that they drive, brand of watch that they wear. I think certain watches say things about the person. And if you feel like a Hublot exemplifies your persona, I think that's awesome. You know, I'm more like I said, understated luxury, low key, if you know type stuff. Sensational says top 3 meals to stay on track. I love to work out, hate to eat, right? Mastermind Carbon 2. Love you and the fabulous tea lady. Appreciate you. So I have eggs and oatmeal in the morning. If I have time to cook, sometimes I blend it up in the blender with an extra scoop of protein powder. That's super easy to drink down and get the day going. I like that because it's convenient. Sometimes I do regular oatmeal. Sometimes I do the like packets that have the extra little sugar in it. I'm a bigger dude, so like if I don't eat 3,500 calories a day, I start losing weight. And especially if I'm moving and working out, that's closer to like 4,200 calories a day. So I can eat a little bit more than the average person. It's a lot easier to be in a 500 calorie deficit when your maintenance is so high. You know, if you're in a 500 calorie deficit per day over a 7-day period, that's about a pound of fat per week that you would lose. About 3,500 calories is a pound of fat. It's interesting that a pound of muscle is 700 calories and a pound of fat is 3,500 calories. Muscle is much denser than fat is. But anyway, other couple meals that are easy, like staples. Another one that gets me through the night is like, and my wife will attest to this, if I have a sweet tooth, I like eating sweets before I go to sleep. I want an insulin spike, helps me, you know, pass out. So I'll make protein ice cream. So I'll get like almond milk or egg whites and mix that with ice, and then throw a couple of scoops of protein powder in there, and then mix in some like dark chocolate or some berries, and it's pretty low glycemic fix, you know. So that's kind of breakfast and the last meal of the day, and then I eat a lot of sushi. But that is a lot of rice. It's a lot of carbohydrates. So it depends on, you know, what type of diet you're on. The other thing that I like is separating my fuel sources. So the first time I did that when I competed was when I actually got really lean for the first time. I would do like one meal with carbs and protein, low fat. The other meal would be like a couple tablespoons of peanut butter and a protein shake. And then I would do, you know, no fat again, carbs and protein. And if you don't have fat and carbs in the same meal, your body gets pretty good at metabolizing those things. Also, if you're trying to lose weight, I would eat protein first because it's more satiating. If you're trying to gain weight, eat your carbs first. Other thing, if you're trying to lose weight, refrigerate your carbohydrates. So cook them at, you know, the night before, refrigerate them overnight, and they will build out resistant starch, which actually reduces the calories and is good for your gut biome. And then if you're trying to gain weight, I would eat, you know, ready-made carbohydrates. Would cook them same day and package them. I wouldn't refrigerate them overnight. So it's just little tips and tricks like that that go a long way. But those are, you know, a couple meals that make it easy for me to stay on track. Dream Bullish, they say, hey Jake, Carbon One here. Awesome. Glad to see you. It said, I'm looking to add more assets to my LLC. Would I need to have a Schedule 3 with the new assets listed notarized? What other steps do I need to take? $1.05 per XRP is awesome. See, you got it figured out. If you're able to buy here, you know, and again, I can't give you financial advice. Blockchain backer, I will point to him because everybody always points to me. I will say BCB. Congratulations to BCB on 300,000 subscribers on YouTube, by the way. That's awesome. Saw that today. Excited for him. He thinks we might sweep the lows one more time, but we're pretty much bottomed out here. So again, I'm not telling you what to buy. If you think it's going lower, stack cash and wait for it. I'm not trying to catch a falling knife. But if Tether goes, you know, tomorrow or the next day, like it potentially could, I'd see how that plays out. Then the market could crash and there could be a buying opportunity there. So I think this is a great price. If you bought Bitcoin at $1.05, I don't think you'd be mad about it. But if you wanted to add new assets, I'm assuming that you want to add more wallet addresses. You could, it's just a written action, a written consent that you would update that with, or you could do it on the Schedule 3 and, you know, capital contributions page, and just sign that with an e-signature to make sure that the time and date stamp was on there. And I would allocate those also at the cost basis at which you purchase them. Haze Mania, they say, legend. What's up, dude? Emergency meeting in Japan at 8 GMT. All right, let's see. 8. What is 8 GMT Central Standard Time? 8 GMT versus CST. EST. That is 2 a.m. Central Standard Time. I gotta wake up tomorrow and like drive to the office and work. You guys are making me want to stay up to watch. I'm getting anxious here. I think things are looking good. Major malfunction. It says, Jake, what's the one remaining obstacle delaying DWP monthly yield, and what specifically has to happen before clients receive their first month of payout? I wish I could just say it. I know what it is. We're onboarding with multiple parties right now in order to be able to get some different opportunities across the line. So legal and compliance would be what I would point to. There's one other one that I wish I could say. How do I? Oh, I got NDAs. Legal and compliance is what the issue is, unfortunately, and they're working through it. They've got a path forward on a couple different parties we're working with. It's just, and like, so here's the other thing. Anybody else that wants to build what we've built, have at it. To be able to build the internal IP, to be able to onboard people at the pace that we can, to build the systems that we have, to curate the partnerships that we have with the different counterparties, to be able to facilitate the different products, and do that all inside of compliance and regulatory guidelines, and work with the institutions that are like glaciers to get things across the line with. You could start right now and try to build DWP. I don't think people could do it. If you did do it, it would take you at least 12 to 18 months to come anywhere close to the same capabilities that we currently have. And that's, again, not saying that to be egotistical or come off as better than anybody else. I don't think we are. I just think we got a head start. We have really good people to work for us, and working with institutions takes a long time to get things across the line, especially when you're doing new things that have never existed before. Now, that's not to say somebody couldn't come behind us and kind of, because we've cut the path in the trees with the machete, follow much faster. But they wouldn't have the legal agreements, the internal IP, the systems, all the stuff in order to be able to do it. So believe me, we are going as fast as we possibly can. Everyone that has come to work here from a traditional institution, from Grayscale, from Gemini, from US Bank, from PNC, they're all like, this is warp speed compared to any other traditional institution. And I don't have an institutional background or paradigm. You guys know that. I guess y'all know my story if you're watching this. But I kind of take that as an advantage because I don't have the same predetermined time frames that somebody from that background would have. People that have come over are like, oh, well, this is going to take, 6 months. And I'm like, no, it's not. What would have to be true for us to do it in 30 days? And they're like, oh, well, like after they tell me it can't be done a couple times, they'll say, well, like we would have to have this, and this, and all this would have to go perfect. And we'd have to do, all this would be lined up, and, the partner does this and legal and compliance and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, cool, do that. And they're like, and then it takes 2 months and not 6 months. So I think I just have an unrealistic expectation for how fast things should move. But I think that's been a net benefit for the organization, and our ability to adapt to situations and create new products and move much faster than other people in the industry. Mick Baseball, good to see you. They say, Jake, I'll be in Austin July 11th to the 15th for a conference. Could use a brisket spot recommendation if you know any in the area. Win Swift. You got me on the Swift part, my man. I thought that they were going to go live today. I haven't seen it. Again, I think they need liquidity in XRP before they're ready to roll that out. There's a lot of good barbecue down in Austin. Austin's also weird compared to the rest of the state. I say weird. Like, it is weird. There's some odd ducks there. A lot more liberal than Dallas in certain parts. Outskirts are still pretty, Texas. I don't know if they have a Hard 8 down there in Austin or not, but Hard 8 barbecue is really good. Dickies. Hole in the walls, like one-off barbecue joints. Oh, my wife's yelling at me something. I don't know what she said. I like the hole in the wall stuff, that there's like one location, and you could probably look at like the ratings on those, and the ones that have the like 4.8 or higher, it's gonna be good. Don't forget Tex-Mex while you're here also. Angus says, cheers to you, my dude. Appreciate you on that with my Mickey Mouse cup. Well, it's actually Minnie Mouse. They were nice enough to get for me on their cruise. All right. I think I may have made it through the majority of the super chats. We're close to the end of the night here. The Garrett Mendoza, good to see you, dude. He says, Jake, DAG staking rewards for Flare and HBAR. Flare is gonna be hard until there's a significant price appreciation on Flare. So again, like this is part of the other deal. Institutions don't really care until there's a lot of money. Everybody's like, well, why aren't there XRP products yet? It's just now got enough liquidity in it in the last couple of years, and ROUSD and the other traction with Ripple and things where people are starting to pay attention. Banks and institutions and enterprises go where the money is. And so they've developed a ton of products around Bitcoin and ETH and Solana, Tether. And so HBAR is starting to come about. We know enough people to be able to facilitate that. We have enough HBAR across our client base to it was enough to get it listed over there at Anchorage and be able to custody that asset. There's still some functionality we're missing with that, which is frustrating, but we can custody it. And we are working on some different opportunities to be able to generate returns on that. It's time and resources, right? So our main absolute focus right now is get a yield product across the line for XRP, because that's about 96% of what we manage. So that's imperative that we do that. Beyond having multiple yield and return products created for XRP, we will then go be able to kind of rehypothecate the same measures that we've used to generate those products for other digital assets. One of those will absolutely be HBAR. Flare will take longer. Like I mentioned, there's just we probably have 100 million Flare across our client base. At the current value, we're at like $1 million. So it doesn't do much for an Anchorage when their minimum is $50 to $100 million worth of liquidity before they want to create a way to hold it, because it's not lucrative enough for them. It doesn't make sense on a business case. So I want to see significant price appreciation on Flare just like everybody else does, and then we'll be able to work with that in a much deeper capacity. And I really like Flare's team. I think they're doing some cool stuff. 180 Auto says, legend. Illinois is taxing crypto transactions and specters of wealth tax. Clarity Act or CA, I don't know if that's California, are coming. It must be Clarity Act. What strategies are there to eliminate exposure to these? Move. People were asking me about the UK the other day in the mastermind. They're like, how do we avoid these things? And I'm like, move. Unfortunately, when jurisdictions decide things are going to go a certain way and they pass laws, you don't have a whole lot of choice at that point. Like, you live there and participate in that capacity or have to deal with those tax implications. And maybe you have so much money that you don't care. Like, that's the other benefit of quote unquote FU money, is you can live wherever you want because you make so much money that you can pay the taxes. That's why a lot of people stay in California or stay in New York. Even though they get taxed to death, they make so much money that they're like, all right, well, I like living here. I like the weather or the people or the atmosphere or whatever. I grew up here, whatever the reasoning is, they don't want to move. And because they make enough money, they don't have to. So I wish I had a better answer for you than get out of that state. The only other thing would be like lobby and get somebody else elected so that they could rebuke or revoke that law and pass something separate. If there's a law passed at the federal level that denies that, that would really kind of be the only way to overturn that outside of what I just mentioned prior to it. And if you have enough money, you could probably lobby and get the right person up there. So, again, money could solve some problems or changing your jurisdiction. Stormtrooper, Nerd Check. Have you ever watched Ronin Warriors? Nope, but I bet Max Avery has. I would be willing to bet he knows exactly what that is. I'm probably too young for that one. Jayhawk Nation, Rockhawk Jayhawk, good to see you. He says, aloha from Hawaii. Hey, very fun. Next time I come to San Diego, next time you come to San Diego, if you can leave some of the free time for me and my wife can coordinate a full tour on board her ship, the USS Theodore Roosevelt. Oh, very cool. Maybe, I guess she's in the Navy. That's why you're over in Hawaii. Very cool, dude. I will actually be in September in KC, and might be a cool panel that I'm on in September this year. PH Chandler says, hey Jake, Emery EK here. Good to see you. A friend has a pretty significant amount of XRP, LLC formation Rex on Robinhood. What are the risks of keeping it there? Not gonna be able to do much with it. And as soon as you start to withdraw, they're gonna limit you to like $5,000 a day. I don't know what's going to happen to the people on Robinhood. They're very touchy about people pulling their stuff off there, which I get, like they don't want to bank run. But that also tells me they're probably not fully collateralized and maybe they don't have all that XRP, which is concerning. I'm not saying that to be the case, just throwing that out there based on the actions that they're taking when people try to take their assets off the platform. Very similar to the restriction on withdrawals we saw during FTX and Voyager and Celsius and a lot of things that didn't go so good in 2021. So I don't know. There's uncertainty for me at Robinhood if you're holding your assets there. And again, not saying that to talk bad about Robinhood or say that they are a bad exchange. It's just not somewhere I would personally hold my digital assets. So take with that what you will. Unfortunately, I also don't have anybody over there to be able to help you if your account gets locked or has a problem. People have also come for those reasons and asked and emailed, and I can't help them, which I feel bad about. Kershada 589. They say new Beyond Broke Mastermind. Awesome. Glad to see you. Glad to have you in the group. They say currently Beyond Broke. Gonna be Beyond Broke in the near future. Small bag does. Being in social lock me into the current Beyond Broke price tree. Yes. Yeah. So as we raise prices for people that come in later, anybody that is currently in the mastermind, you are locked in at the current price tiers. So if you want to move up later on, you have the ability, no issue. We will probably, for Carbon 3, we had like a time limit that you had to be in Carbon 2 in order to be able to progress to that level. There will probably be some gamification of that as things progress here. We want people to get the most out of each group, and we want to make sure that in order to do that, different groups are just kind of at different points in their journey, and we kind of curate the content in each group to where people are at. So we'll probably do something similar with the other groups on the other side of price appreciation, just to make sure that you're getting the best value for what you're paying for. So, but yes, the prices will be locked in, and they will be much, much higher for anybody else that comes in after. This person, good to see you. They say, hey, Jake, I hope you and your family are well. Same to you. Blessings to you and your family. Please clarify this thing for me. I'm a bit confused. Why many XRP YouTubers are linking DTCC with XRP when they clearly say they're going to use XLM? Did you invest in XLM? Thanks, bro. So I've owned XLM a couple different times. I've always consolidated it back to XRP. And again, that's just my prerogative. I'm not telling you guys what to do in any capacity. I think that it will also do exceptionally well over the long term. The DTCC finalized Project Ion with R3 in 2022, August of that year, if you want to go look it up. That has been running in tandem with the back end of the stock market. Since then, they've been trialing that. That is the solution that they're going to be using for back end settlement. They're not going to be using XLM on the exchanges until 2027. So for them to be able to settle real time here in 2026, they're not going to be using XLM on the back end of the stock market. And XLM may continue to trail XRP. So like XRP, let's say, does start with Swift and the back end settlement of the stock market, and then eventually progress its way to derivatives. XLM may come in behind that for peer-to-peer stock transfers and other stuff, because that's what it's meant for. It's a peer-to-peer payment merchant services deal. So if they're the exchanges facing the consumer, it makes sense that they might settle through XLM. But the back end settlement, very confident is XRP. We worked with R3 on a project that I can't talk about what the project was, but in that conversation, we asked them, early on, before I signed the NDA, which network and asset we should settle through. And they said that we're only going to be using the one that has enough liquidity and clarity. So you can make your own determination on what asset that is. Mr. Westall, they say, hey, Jake, after price appreciation, will the LLC price change and monthly fee? Also, thanks for not running ads. Stay blessed. Yeah, we don't currently run any ads. We've thought about it, but I don't know. I think people that want it probably find us and see that there's value in the service. We've never, so, we actually lowered prices here recently. We came back from $2,000 down to $1,500 because we stepped away from Laughlin and separated, and, we're doing everything in-house now. So we pass those savings on to the clients. Same thing with, the renewal and everything. We don't ever increase prices without adding additional value. So if we were to increase prices on the LLC, I don't know what else we would put with it at this point to increase the value beyond what we're currently doing in order to be able to justify an increase on that. I guess we could package it with a couple other things. So like if you wanted a living trust, you wanted the irrevocable trust and an LLC, we might be able to package things that way at a reduced price in comparison to purchasing both of them outright. But I mean, like, we do everything end to end for $1,500 on the LLC. EIN, articles of organization, banking memorandum, certificate of good standing, all of the administrative components, meeting minutes, board resolutions, operating agreement that's specific to this asset class and holding these assets. We walk you through exactly how to do it, how to fill it out, how to maintain the creditor protection. We file it for you. We're the agent, there on your behalf so that your name's not listed. We have a registered agent so that, your address isn't listed. Like we have all the bells and whistles, and I thought we were going to have bank accounts, with the app with Uphold, and that's been, excuse my French, but a shit show. And I'm not proud of that. I'm embarrassed by it, and I want to figure it out because things aren't moving the way that I want to. and we are going to. We will figure it out ourselves if we need to. I value that relationship with Uphold. I think that they're a great company. But at this point, we got to have actual results on stuff, and it's been very frustrating. So if they're watching this, we want to work with you. We want to figure it out. If you guys need a different KYB provider, we will pay for it at this point, because we want to get this to work. And I feel like both of our reputations have suffered in the public eye because of the not so good results that we've been able to produce. So anyway, on to another topic here. We don't plan on changing the price post price appreciation, because I don't know what else we could add to the product or service to be able to justify a price increase. If I come up with something and it's awesome, then maybe we will. But at this point, we do everything. So I don't know what else we would add to it. Daniel, we've got, he says, I'm actually very happy because I know the time is very close. And when everything seems like it's going to poop, going to crap, that is when stuff happens. That is exactly right. We'll see what the announcement is at 2 a.m. Central Standard Time today. Jake, peace to you. Question: should I sell some XRP to lower my cost basis and then buy back? Maybe clock some IRS losses for taxes too. I posted the other day that people should look up tax loss harvesting. There may be a reason behind that. I don't know how much you're down or how much losses you would be able to. Just be aware that you are going to have to pay the fees for the buy and the sell. There are no there's no wash rule for crypto. If you get with a fuddy-dud CPA, they're going to tell you that there's no wash rule. Again, I'm not a CPA, so don't take my advice. Work with your CPA, but you should be able to capitalize those losses in the manner that you just mentioned. Last one for the night. They say, hi, thanks for sharing your knowledge. My question is, does your team have proficiency in equine business development, as in money earning horses, having them in an LLC, building a business via horses? We work with crypto for the most part. I do know the gentleman that works with the Queen and the Crown for their race horses. It's definitely one of my wife's passions. And we will have to actually, build some structure around stuff moving forward for her and what she's doing. So maybe we'll get good at that, but it's not something we currently do. We focus exclusively on crypto for the most part. So thank you for the fantastic question. And maybe at a future state. I've got a couple more super chats here, so I'm gonna try to run through these before we lock it down. XRP Maxi says, hey Jake, do you think 0.25 will be enough for the reverse carry trade? My wife says, hi. I refuse to wear the Jake mask. She made me stay well. I think that they're going to move more aggressively than that when they move. We'll have to see. But, there's some announcement tonight. I don't know if it's going to affect anything or not. We're still hanging out above 162, and that is not good for Japan. Wager Rewards, good to see you again. They say, please check your email. My super chat wasn't answered from last Wednesday. I sent it at an email earlier today at 6:40 p.m. Oh, well, that's why I didn't get it. We will get it for Wednesday night, sir. I apologize. Thank you for letting me know. Jesus is Lord. That's the one we're going to end on. He says, I was thinking the strawberry is the bullish moon or whatever. And the turtle would obviously be XRP because it's ridiculously slow. And it's happy because it gets to move fast finally. So if you don't know what he's talking about, tinfoil hat time, we'll end on that. David Schwartz has made many references to strawberries over the years. Tonight is the strawberry moon. Is there a there? We'll see. But he did post, a turtle eating strawberries. He's posted sour strawberry milk. He said once he was retired that all he could think about was strawberry ice cream. So is there something there? Maybe. If I was a cryptographer and I wanted to tell the world, I would be strategic in the way that I did that, very similar to him. But I'm not, and I don't pretend to be. So if you do need the LLC, like I said, go check it out over there at app.digitalascensiongroup.com. Everything end to end, all you need, $1,500. And then we will be rolling out new features in that app in the not too distant future that I think you guys will like. As soon as things are ready, I really want to show you guys the beta that I've built out for this, but I'm not allowed to, so I'm not going to as of yet. But I can tell you the long-term vision for the platform. What I've built, we could license to family offices for hundreds of thousands of dollars. And we are going to provide that to you guys over the long term. So, like the other gentleman that, you know, supports and pays and like understands the long-term vision, we appreciate everybody that wants to use our services and continue to partner with us and sees the long-term vision. It allows us to do what we're doing and continue to build everything for you guys. So thank you for your support and choosing to work with us at DAG. Beyond that, if you want to work on the wealth management side, you can go over to digitalwealthpartners.net, is where it's currently still at for the wealth management, segregated accounts, bankruptcy remote, insured, beneficiaries, all the fun stuff over there at Anchorage. And you get an advisor. And then last but not least, we'd love to see you in the mastermind. I don't know how much longer you have till there's a $10 XRP. So go over to beyondbroke.com and use the code beyondbroke, all capitalized, #1. And then MO gets you the first month for $2, and you're going to be locked in at the prices that exist today. So with that, I hope you guys have a wonderful night. We will see what tomorrow holds, and I'm sure we will see you guys Wednesday. God bless, and we'll see you on the next one.